Baseball legend Rickey Henderson liked to refer to himself in the third person, but in 1991, after he stole his 939th career base, breaking Lou Brock's all-time record, he decided to, instead, go with the more conventional approach, and he made no attempt to downplay his own achievement.
Today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
Some might find this statement boastful, cocky, or even disrespectful. Others would say it's just Rickey being Rickey, but that doesn't mean he was wrong. Rickey was unquestionably the greatest base stealer of all time. It's not even close. On the base paths, Rickey had a combination of speed, instincts, and intelligence that no other player has ever had. Not Lou Brock, not Ty Cobb, not Jackie Robinson. They called him the Man of Steel, and his 1,406 stolen bases will likely never even be sniffed by another big league ball player, unless they outlaw pickoff throws entirely. And probably not even then. But Rickey wasn't just a threat on the base paths. He was the greatest leadoff hitter in baseball for the majority of his career, and arguably in history. He drew walks at an all-time rate, hit more leadoff home runs than anyone, and even threw in some solid defense. And no one in Major League Baseball history has ever scored more runs than Rickey Henderson. No one. Rickey was unlike anyone else in the game. He was weird, and fun, and cocky, a terror to opposing pitchers and catchers, and unquestionably one of the greatest showmen on earth. And he would probably be the first one to tell you that. Rickey Henderson spent most of his childhood in the city where he would spend most of his career, Oakland, California. Rickey excelled at many sports, including baseball and football. When the baseball coach at his high school, a converted driving instructor, assigned the 15-year-old Rickey to the JV team without even a tryout, Rickey went up to him and said, "You must not know who I am." And later, just like a scene from a movie, Rickey showed exactly who he was. He snuck into the varsity team's batting practice and put on a show, launching rockets across the diamond. When he was finished, the coach looked at him and said, You come with us." And from there, Rickey was off to the races. The Oakland A's drafted the young star in the 4th round of the 1976 draft, and he quickly moved to the minors. In a preview of what was to come, Henderson hit .345, walked 104 times, scored 120 runs, and stole 95 bases at Single-A Modesto. By 1979, he was in the majors, going 2 for 4 against Texas with a double and a stolen base in his major league debut. Rickey led the team that year with 33 stolen bases despite playing in only 89 games. The A's weren't good, winning just 54 contests, but Henderson proved he could be electric on baseball's biggest stage, and he kept proving it over and over again. Former Yankees legend Billy Martin took over the reins in Oakland in 1980, and the club's fortunes quickly improved. Martin preached an aggressive style of play, which became known as Billy Ball. It was a style made for Rickey Henderson. In his first full season in the big leagues, Rickey put on a dazzling show of speed and overall ability. He led the league in stolen bases with a jaw-dropping even 100, the start of a prolonged assault on the record books. It was the first of 7 straight seasons in which he would lead the league in steals. Rickey's approach to the craft of stealing a base was different than most elite base swipers. They would study a pitcher's move to first base, but Henderson focused solely on the pitcher's move to home plate. He felt he could get the best jump if he could accurately detect when a pitcher was going to go home, and if they picked him off sometimes because of his own misjudgment, so what? He had the speed to beat even some of those plays. But Rickey didn't just steal bases. He finished 2nd in the league in walks with 117, 3rd in on-base percentage at .420, while hitting .303 with a 135 OPS+. He was chosen to play in the first of his 10 All-Star games. The A's won 83 games and finished 2nd in the AL West. The following season, 1981, was interrupted by a player's strike, but Rickey just kept on running, stealing 56 bases in 108 games. He hit .319, won his first and only Gold Glove award, and finished 2nd in AL MVP voting. The A's won the West but were swept by the Yankees in the ALCS. The A's fell back down to earth in 1982, but Rickey himself reached new heights. He led the majors in walks and set a new major league record with 130 stolen bases. It shattered the previous mark of 118 set by Lou Brock in 1974. Rickey became one of the biggest draws in baseball, and Rickey the showman gave fans exactly what they wanted, swiping bags seemingly at will, making tough running catches, then beating his chest. He was an absolute force of nature. The A's fired Billy Martin at the end of the 1982 season, but this had little effect on Rickey in 1983. He stole a league-leading 108 bases, again led the league in walks with 103, and posted the best full-season OPS plus of his career with a 139 mark. If Rickey got on first base, which he was doing every year at an over 400 clip, everyone in the ballpark knew he was running. Red Sox first baseman Mo Vaughn called Rickey by the nickname Gas, because walking him was like pouring gasoline on a fire. When Rickey got to first base, Vaughn would say, "What's up, Gas? You going?" Rickey would smile and say, "You know I am," and then he was gone. And then, just like that, at the end of the 1984 season, Rickey was gone from Oakland too. The A's received 5 players from the New York Yankees: Stan Javier, Jose Rijo, Eric Plunk, which is an elite name for a ball player, Tim Bertstaz, and Jay Howell, in return for Henderson and pitcher Burt Bradley. He had a great year in 1984, establishing his career high in OPS Plus at 146 while crushing 16 dingers and swiping 66 bases. It might not have been the mind-boggling steals total of previous years, but it still led the league. And now, going to New York was giving him a chance to reunite with manager Billy Martin and cash in with an $8.6 million deal over 5 years. Moving from the West Coast to the East didn't affect Rickey's game in the slightest. He again led the AL in swiped bags with 80 in 1985 and 87 in 1986. He also led the AL in runs scored both of those seasons. But Rickey didn't stop there. He added a new element to his game and some muscle to his frame. Now, he was a bona fide power threat. Henderson proceeded to slug 24 home runs in 1985 and 28 in 1986, while posting a slugging percentage of nearly 500 cumulatively. He hit 9 of those home runs in 1986 to lead off the game. Soon, the leadoff jack was something that Rickey became known for, just like his quote snap catches and ludicrous stolen base totals. Over his career, he would hit 81 leadoff dingers, far more than the next closest player, Alfonso Soriano, who hit 54. Even more remarkable was the fact that Henderson hit leadoff home runs for all 9 different teams he played for in his 25-year career, and he hit at least one leadoff blast in every season, including one at the age of 44 in 2003. By hitting leadoff blasts and turning walks into doubles, Henderson was cementing himself as the greatest leadoff hitter in modern history, but his time in New York was coming to a close. Henderson was sidelined for 67 games in 1987 with a hamstring injury. He still managed to swipe 41 bases, but the Yankees struggled, falling to 4th place in the AL East after 2 second-place finishes in Henderson's first 2 seasons. Lou Piniella, who had replaced Billy Martin that year, questioned Henderson's commitment to the team, and Henderson's relationship with the brass suffered correspondingly. He had gotten the reputation as a cocky player who could put up big numbers for himself, but couldn't really help his team win ball games, whatever that meant. Healthy again in 1988, Rickey tried to prove his naysayers wrong, and he mostly succeeded. While his power dipped as his slugging went back down to the 300s, he still hit 305 and stole 93 bases, his highest total since 1983. But the Yankees dropped to 5th place. When he was finally traded back to Oakland in 1989, Henderson, despite the numbers, still had a lot to prove in his hometown. Rickey returned to an A's team that was the defending American League champs. This was a squad that had the Bash brothers Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire, and seasoned veterans like Dave Henderson, Carney Langsford, Bob Welch, and Dennis Eckersley. They had lost to the Dodgers in the previous World Series thanks to a disappointing performance and a little magic by Kirk Gibson. But in 1989, the team was dominant, and with Rickey Henderson inserted mid-season at the top of the order, they looked unstoppable. For his part, he notched a 148 OPS plus with 52 stolen bases in just 85 games with the team. Oakland won the AL West by 7 games. Then they destroyed the Blue Jays in 5 games in the ALCS. Rickey hit .400 with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 8 runs, 7 walks, and 8 steals in that series, and was named MVP. Rickey had now proven he could dominate in the playoffs, and as the Oakland A's headed to the World Series to meet the San Francisco Giants, he hoped to show he could dominate there as well. The A's jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the series when Mother Nature struck as an earthquake hit San Francisco just before Game 3. The series was halted, but the A's and Rickey managed to pick up right where they left off after the delay, sweeping the series in 4. Henderson was just as good as he had been in the ALCS, batting .474 with the home run, 3 RBIs, 2 triples, and 3 stolen bases. He had put on one of the greatest performances in postseason history, proving to everyone that he wasn't just an excellent player, but a winning one as well. The A's claimed their 3rd straight AL pennant in 1990, with Henderson notching his first MVP award, after a jaw-dropping season in which he hit .325 and led the league in runs, stolen bases, on-base percentage, OPS, and OPS plus at a ridiculous 189, the highest mark of his career. He also matched his career high with 28 home runs. Other teams felt helpless to stop Rickey's romp around the base paths. During one close game against the Yankees, the team was setting up for a no-doubles defense late in the game, in which they guarded the lines and attempted not to give up a hit that would produce a runner in scoring position. When Rickey came to the plate, Yankees first baseman Don Mattingly screamed back at the coaches in the dugout calling for a no-doubles defense. What for? If he gets a single, it's a double anyway. The A's swept the Red Sox in the ALCS before being upset by the underdog Cincinnati Reds in the 1990 World Series. Henderson still managed to bat over .300 that postseason, with 5 stolen bases. Rickey battled injuries over the next 2 seasons, but still managed to lead the AL in stolen bases in 1991. Then, in 1993, he launched home runs to lead off both games of a doubleheader against Cleveland, something no major leaguer had done since 1913. During those years, he never put up an OPS plus under 135 and never posted an OPS under 800, nor did he swipe less than 48 bags. However, Rickey's second stint with the A's was coming to an end, and in the summer of 1993, he was dealt north of the border to the Toronto Blue Jays, just in time to make another run at the postseason. Rickey played 44 games for the Blue Jays that year and stole 22 bases, playing a key role in the team's first World Series championship, which memorably ended with the walk-off home run by Joe Carter. Guess who was on second base for the historic shot? The 34-year-old Henderson returned to the A's for the third time in the strike-shortened 1994 season, and the following year he hit 300 and stole 32 bases in just 112 games. The A's finished in last place, and Henderson was off to another team in 1996, signing a 2-year deal with the San Diego Padres and taking his talents to the National League for the first time. Henderson, now 37, started to see his production slip a bit. He hit just .241 with 66 stolen bases those 2 seasons before being traded to the Anaheim Angels the following year, and then back to the A's in 1998. Henderson hit just .236 that season, but still managed to lead the AL in stolen bases and walks. But at this point, there was no doubt his career was on the downswing, and many thought he should think about hanging up his spikes. Rickey had other ideas. With yet another new team in 1999, the New York Mets, the 40-year-old Henderson had a resurgence, hitting .315 with a 128 OPS plus, 37 stolen bases, and a .423 on-base percentage. He was named the Sporting News Comeback Player of the Year, but the Mets, after a rough start for Rickey the following year, would release the veteran, and he finished out the season with the Mariners. Come 2001, Henderson was back in San Diego, ready to hit some major milestones. On April 25th, the 42-year-old Rickey took ball 4 to lead off the bottom of the ninth against Jose Mesa of the Phillies. It was the 2,063rd walk of his career, passing Babe Ruth as the all-time leader. A few months later, in a game against the Dodgers, Henderson came to bat in the 3rd inning. He was tied with Ty Cobb as the all-time leader in runs scored. Henderson proceeded to belt a home run and then trotted around the bases. As he neared home plate, Henderson slid in for his 2,246th run, a new record. Now well past his prime, and with 3 of baseball's greatest all-time marks, Henderson still refused to quit. He signed a minor league contract with the Boston Red Sox in 2002, and eventually ended up with the independent Newark Bears of the Atlantic League in 2003. He was 44 years old, making $3,000 playing for an unaffiliated team, but he was still playing the game he loved, and for him, at the time, that was enough. He did end up getting one more shot at the big leagues, signing with the Dodgers and playing 30 games to finish out the season and his career. His final season ended with 3 stolen bases and 0 caught stealing. The self-proclaimed greatest of all time was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 2009. In 2017, the Oakland A's named the playing field at the Oakland Coliseum in Henderson's honor. So, will we ever see a player like Rickey Henderson again? Let's start with the numbers. His 1,406 career stolen bases look untouchable, but Rickey wasn't just about speed, as we've discussed. He's still the all-time leader in runs scored with 2,295 and leadoff home runs with 81. His 2,190 career walks are second only to Barry Bonds. He also posted 3,055 hits, 297 home runs, and a ridiculous on-base percentage of .401. He was a 10-time All-Star and an annual MVP contender, winning the award once while finishing in the top 10 of voting 5 other times. As the Athletics general manager, the great Billy Beane once said of Rickey, he's the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, and I'm not sure if there's a close second. Or as his former A's teammate Mitchell Page once said, it wasn't until I saw Rickey that I understood what baseball was about. Rickey Henderson is a run. That's it. When you see Rickey Henderson, I don't care when, the score is already 1-0. And it was more than just raw numbers. Henderson electrified crowds with his showmanship and enthusiasm for the game. Rickey once said, if my uniform doesn't get dirty, I haven't done anything in the baseball game. And it's because of this and so much more that we here at MTC believe we can confidently say that there'll never be another Rickey Henderson. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed the vid and click this playlist for other essay content just like this one. Have a great day, everyone.